amends the pay plan for employees of Metro government to provide an increase in salary for the mayor, vice mayor, and members of the council effective September the 1st, 2015. Do I have a motion? Second. Any discussion? Councilman Glover.
I just want to say very quickly that I will not support this. I mean, we've not been able to give our employees a raise on a consistent basis over several years, and so I will not be supporting this bill.
Duly noted. Councilman Stein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Obviously, since I won't be on the ballot for anything next year, I am free from from having to play the politics of this, and I do understand the politics of this, and it's pretty complicated. But we haven't done anything about these issues in 11 years, and realistically, nothing will be done again for 8 years. You know, occasionally, while we are all elected to represent, we're also elected to lead. And sometimes we just have more information about some things than the folks we represent. And the demands of what we do here are, if you have a job and you are working, because this is part-time, it detracts from that. If indeed you are trying to live a normal life, it is impossible to do so. And clearly we all ask for it, but we are elected to do a part-time job, and the expectations are that it be full-time. And I think all of us would agree that that's the case, and we all willingly do this. If we were to look at what just tying these raises to the consumer price index, and then take into account that nothing is going to happen again for at least another 8 years, this is not dramatically different than just what the CPI would recommend. It's also important to remember that this does not apply to any of us here. I know there is a tendency for those, when I used to be on the ballot, there was a power of incumbency for at-larges, because indeed no incumbent at-large has ever lost re-election. Well, none of the 5 of us can run for re-election, so that doesn't apply to any of us. I don't think that applies to district council people, and I think that the sort of notion that there is a conflict is a false assumption, because unless you know you're not going to have an opponent, or you are so sure that you are going to beat whoever you run against, which may be worse politics than actually voting on this, there is no guarantee that it applied to anyone in this room. But every so often, you have to bite the bullet and look at what compensation is. We are looking at asking people to run and to serve as mayor of our city what will be a $2 billion budget, and we are currently paying them $136,000 a year. For all those folks in the world that think government ought to operate like a business, I guarantee you there's not a $2 billion business anywhere in the world that asks their CEO to settle for a salary of $136,000. If you think about what we do as council members, we know full well that this job actually over time ends up costing us more than we are being compensated for. And again, we willingly do it, and we are doing it for all the right reasons, and I think every single person I've served with is doing it for the right reasons. But we also know that an increase once in 20 years, which is what this basically comes out to, if you average it out for years, doesn't come out to very much of an increase per year. And it's apples and oranges, because we try our best. We have not been as successful as we want to address other Metro employees' salary issues on an annual basis. This will never be done annually. This has not been looked at since 2003, and we know it won't be looked at for at least another 8 years. So for those of us that don't have to be involved in the politics of it, I would certainly urge that we vote yes on this, because we know the value of the work that we do, even if it's not always appreciated in the outside world. And I think that these increases for these offices is certainly merited at least once every 20 years. Thank you.
Councilman Maynard.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I appreciate the comments by Councilman Glover. duly noted and sensitive to that as well. But I want to talk about this issue because I think it's important. Number one, is that our city is growing. The challenges that we face are more diverse, more complicated, more complex. And so when we are dealing with these issues as a council person, or whether you're at large, or whether you're a vice mayor, whether you're a district council person or the mayor, I believe that the challenges that we face with a growing city, with the growing complexities, that it's important then that we don't pay based on the value or the market value of this particular seat. But I agree with Councilman Stein that at some point in time, if you don't address what other council persons are making in the market, and if you don't address the fact that we have not had a raise in the last 20 years, I believe it goes to help diminish the value and the importance of this particular seat. And for some people, they may disagree, but I see it that way, that if you never, ever bring attention to this particular issue, then it diminishes the seat that we are occupying, the position. For those who say it's a part-time position, ask my wife, this ain't part-time. This is a full-time job, and the constituents deserve that, and they demand that. Finally, I want to say that I've never talked, when I ran in 2007, I had no idea what the council person made. People that I talk to today who are thinking about running, they come to me for advice. They have no idea what the council person makes. However, once you start working, and once you, as Councilman Stein said, for those of us who are self-employed or working, you understand that your capacity to earn a living is substantially, significantly reduced. No one ran for this office for the paycheck. I know I didn't. But my family should not have to suffer dramatically because of my willingness to serve the community. And I believe that when we talk to other council persons who are running, they're not running for the paycheck. But I do believe that we should provide some compensation that their family will not have to have a significant diminishment, if you will, of their ability to earn a living for their families. Because of that reason, as Councilman Stein said, I can't say it any better. Looking at this once every 20 years, I mean, that's just, if we can't do that, I don't know what we can do. So I'm strongly supporting this. I hope that we don't get into the politics of it. I hope we do what's right, and I hope that we will consider those council persons who are coming in the future, that they don't have to wait another 11, 12, 18, 20, 25 years before we address this issue. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Council Lady Lancaster.
Thank you, Chairman Pridemore. I'll be brief. Councilman Stein, I want to ditto every word that he said. He said it very plainly, very articulately. It's just time for a raise for the compensation for the mayor, vice mayor, and the city council. You can go, when you go to NLC and you tell people that you're from Nashville, oh, you're from the capital city. We know that you make you are compensated well. And when you braid those words out and tell them exactly what you make, they can't believe it. A major city, a capital city in Davidson County. We had the largest metro council in the state of Tennessee, and probably in the country we're either third or fourth. I remember when we were second. But it's time, since 2003, no one in here would wait that long if they were on a job outside of this office. This is really an important crunch time. If we don't do it this time, then look how long it's going to be before the next sitting council can put this in place. I strongly urge you to vote for it. I strongly ask you to support what we know is a time and a half job. It's more than just full time. Even if you don't work at it as hard as I did, if you just work, it's still paramount, the meetings and the things you have to do in your district to keep your constituents informed. Let's step up to the plate. It's not going to kill you. Please step up to the plate. Let's do it for the next council members coming in. Thank you for the time.
Thank you. Councilman Garrett.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great speeches from all my colleagues here. I don't know if I'm an apple or an orange, but I know where I'm going to be in August, so I'm voting no, Mr. Chairman.
You're
darn.
Thank you for the discussion. Seeing that no other in the queue, we need a show of hands. All in favor? All opposed? 9-4 against. Motion passes. RS 2014-1271, Pridemore. We're going to take 1271 through 1274 together, if you don't mind. 1271 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to establish programs and deliver services to eligible participants. 1272 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to provide services to dislocated workers. 1273 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to provide services to adult workers. 1274 approves an amendment to a state grant to the Nashville Career Advancement Center to provide services to youth workers. Have a motion. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? 1271 through 1274 passes. 1275, Pridemore and Baker approves a state grant of $50,200 to the state trial courts for interpreter services for indigent defendants with limited English proficiency. A motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 2014-1276, Pridemore and Baker approves an intergovernmental agreement between the Tennessee Valley Authority and the Metro Police Department for the use of off-duty police officers. Have a motion? Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 1277, Pridemore and Baker. This approves a state grant for $275,341 to the Mayor's Office for Emergency Management for Homeland Security Preparedness Activities. This is being withdrawn at the request of the administration. I need a motion for the second the withdrawal. All in favor? Opposed? Motion withdrawn. 2014-1278, Council Lady Gilmore and Pridemore, and we have a letter from Council Lady Gilmore. Authorizes Director of Public Property Administration to exercise an option to purchase 7.94 acres of property on Murfreesboro Pike at a cost of $3.2 million for construction of a new police precinct. Do I have a motion? Second? Councilman Glover.
I don't want to sound negative here, but when I look at an analysis and I see we have an assessed value of $2.2 million, almost $2.3 million, but yet we're going to pay $3.2 million for a piece of property. That tends to give me a little heartburn. And also, I would really like to know just how much money in the last 3 or 4 years we knocked off the tax rolls to buy property for the city's use, because those are revenues that have gone bye-bye. But let's address question number 1 if we could.
It is common for commercial property to be appraised for assessment purposes lower than what the market value is. And there's a provision in the option contract that conditions the sales price upon the appraisal coming in, at that amount, no more than that amount. Rich may have some more information.
I'd like to introduce, I'm not sure the council yet has met Steve Berry. Steve, wave your hand. Steve is our new Director of Public Property and has started here and has taken over this responsibility from our office, and thought this was a chance for you to get to meet Steve. And he might provide a little more detail, but we do have an appraisal on the property, and the purchase price is some $150,000 below the appraised value on the property. So we're buying it for less than appraised value on the property in this instance. As it relates to your second question, I don't have that answer off the top of my head, but I'd be happy to run an analysis of properties that we have bought. We view public safety operations as being actually accretive in value to the surrounding community in which they're located. I think you can see in several places recently where we've done them where they have, I think, started to lead to property values being turned around on Charlotte Avenue being one example, on 12th Avenue South in Council Lady Moore's district, a second one, and this is a third place where we see putting some public safety functions as not only providing a necessary public service, but also we think will add to, in the long term, the increased property values in the surrounding community.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with the fact that that area of town needs to be cleaned up, fleeced, et cetera. But when I read the analysis as I see here, and I don't see any evidence to back up the sale price, as I said, that gives me heartburn. Not just the public safety issue, though, but we bought a lot of property and taken it off the tax rolls over the last 3 or 4 years, and that's why I'm asking this question, because we just keep chiseling away at a tax base at a time that I really don't feel that we can afford to do so. But if we can get those numbers, that would be great. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I have a question. Is Mr. Reebling or John, is that a vacant building now? So it's blighted property, basically? Thank you.
Been vacant for some time.
Been vacant for some time? Thank you. Seeing no other in the queue, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 2014-1279 approves a state grant of $12,000 to the Metro Historical Commission to research and photograph the Inglewood Place and Bluefield neighborhoods to determine eligibility for placement on the National Register of Places. A motion? Second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Councilman Davis in Claiborne's area. 2014-1280 approves a state grant of $20,595,200 to the Metro Health Department for operation of the Women's Infant and Children and Commodity Supplemental Food Program. And second, any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. 2014-1281, Pridemore, Gilmore, and Lancaster approves an annual state grant of $512,400 to the Metro Board of Health for implementation of the state immunization program. Duly seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 2014-1282, Pridemore authorizes the Department of Law to compromise and settle the personal injury claim of Ian Maldine against the Metro government in an amount of $15,000. I have a motion. Second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. 2014-1283, Pridemore authorizes the Department of Law to settle a personal injury claim of Craig Redfern against the Metro government for the amount of $12,000. Have a motion? Second. Do I have a second? Oh. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes. Bill on second reading, 2014-923, Council Lady Gilmore, Pridemore, and Hunt. We have a letter from Council Lady Gilmore. Authorizes Director of Public Property Administration to transfer any remaining interest Metro may have in a small section of property located at the corner of Van Buren Street and First Avenue North to McRedmond Brothers Incorporated. Second. And seeing no discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Motion passes, and that concludes the Budget and Finance meeting.